This is what I woke up to today, and I sprung out of bed with excitement because of it. So, from the Wall Street Journal, BlackRock's woke era is over. Asset manager has exited climate groups and eliminated diversity targets as it tries to end the ESG controversy. And I would argue that shows like PBD and Rogan were really what scared Larry Fink out of embracing the term ESG, because right around the time of PBD going on to Rogan in 2023, that summer, it was literally like on a Saturday, PBD goes on to Rogan. They talk about BlackRock, what's doing, the true extent of it with ESG. And then like that Monday after the Saturday, Larry Fink says they're going to remove the word ESG from the vocabulary and distance themselves from it. So within 2 days of some clips going viral and half the internet learning about what they were doing, they tried to distance themselves and do damage control, but now they're going all the way. So first, let's see what they did today, and then I'm going to show you what was happening behind the scenes for the last couple of years. So when BlackRock joined a UN-sponsored climate coalition in March of 2021, sustainable groups were thrilled. Having the world's largest investment firm on board instantly lent credibility to the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative, committed to support the goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Dozens of major investment managers followed BlackRock's lead. Now, it's probably going to say it in here, but guess how much money in assets under management went towards this? I officially opened up the Forbidden Book Society on Monect, on the Circles tab in Monect. So when I read, I say it's like kind of like gold mining, where a lot of the stuff is nonsense. You don't really need to hear it, but then there's just like these nuggets of like craziness within a lot of books, but then specifically books that I usually read. So I've read like 1,000 books over the last 2 years, and just want a place where I could exclusively share this stuff with people who want to know about this stuff, and people who are curious, who want to know how the world works. So I just want to like build a club of sharp, curious people, and that's what we're doing there. So if you are interested in something like that, check out the Forbidden Book Society on Monect Circles. $66 trillion of assets under management went to this net zero asset managers agreement. So that's $66 trillion worth of investment money that these companies have to decide where to put it, basically steering companies on their policies, on what was favorable policies, what was non-favorable policies. So that's like, I don't know, imagine you have rich grandparents or something, and you're 16, you have your driver's license, and you're trying to do cool shit. And you know that if you do certain things, that the money will keep coming in. Like your grandparents will give you money if you, I don't know, get an electric car, if you, maybe if you're trans or something, right? If you only hang out with certain types of people, then they'll keep giving you money, feeding you money, keeping you not only afloat, but have you doing pretty well. But then if you don't do that, if you take an opposite lifestyle, then they just won't give any money to you, and then withdraw. Like, I guess it's even worse than this analogy in the BlackRock situation, because they could withdraw money from you that you already have, because they get to decide the flow of capital, right? So BlackRock is ultimately a retirement account manager. So, you know, your 401k money sits in a place like BlackRock. They get to decide what companies to invest that money into. And they're supposed to have a fiduciary responsibility that's legally binding, where they make the best possible financial decisions for you. But BlackRock and the other $66 trillion worth of asset managers were collectively deciding to invest in things that were carbon, anti-carbon, or oil and gas, and in favor of like electric vehicle type of stuff. Only companies that had a certain, like a diverse board, and like a certain amount of black and gay and women on their board. So they're doing all kinds of that crap. And that's what made companies like Bud Light do what they did, and made Target do what they did. But let's keep on reading this thing. Let me not go off into the weeds. So BlackRock, or quote, BlackRock is proud to put its name behind this initiative, Chief Executive Larry Fink said at the time in 2021. But nearly 4 years later, Fink was distancing himself, and Net Zero Asset Managers got a phone call January 9th BlackRock was out. Within days, the coalition was teetering. BlackRock's departure from the coalition and its reversal this week on several diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Oh, we're going to have to open this article. Let me open this in a new tab so we could jump onto that later because that's going to be fun to look at. Policies are the latest examples of the company's retreat from advocating for issues. Advocating for issues. Lost my spot. Advocating for issues related to the environment and social corporate governance factors, ESG. It has been gradually walking back its ESG initiatives 4 years after conservatives criticized the moment as being woke and legal risks grew. BlackRock's recent actions show the reversal is almost complete, though the fallout might not be. The company has been able to maintain strong results throughout the controversy, reporting record inflows last year. Crucially, BlackRock has remained out of the crosshairs of President Trump, who has a personal relationship with Larry Fink. Oh, we have to look into that. Trump has publicly, and another thing, BlackRock also just did something big with the Panama Canal, and I saw an article that says it might have something to do with his relationship to Trump. So we'll put a pin in that and check that out later. But to go on, Trump has publicly commended Fink for managing his money well in the past. Oh, Jesus. And Fink and other BlackRock executives still have the Trump team's ear on economic issues, according to the people familiar with the matter. Oh, boy. Yeah, I've never heard Trump come out and insult or criticize Fink directly. Don't love that. So Fink, one of the loudest voices on Wall Street, has spoken out about the risks of climate change for better part of a decade. Do you think he was being disingenuous when he warned that, quote, climate risks are investment risks, or climate risk is investment risk? He said that in 2020. But his $11 trillion firm, which was eager to discuss how it could lead on environmental and social issues just a few years ago, has largely abandoned such rhetoric after a series of congressional inquiries and red state lawsuits. Quote, this is hardball politics at its best or worst, however you want to think it, said Mindy Lubber, CEO of sustainability nonprofit Series and one of the leaders of the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative. The campaign against ESG began in earnest in 2022 with coordinated efforts backed by oil and gas lobbyists and Leonard Leo, a longtime leader of the Federalist Society. Anti-ESG groups made BlackRock and Fink the poster child for what they call woke capitalism. Yeah, or you could say it wasn't even that. It was just everybody complaining online about like, hey, this is crazy that you're trying to tell companies how to use their money, tell companies how to make decisions and try to tell them what type of people they should hire and what like their board should look like. And I gotta show you later too, like you know probably that BlackRock is the biggest corporate or commercial owner of pretty much every company in the S&P 500. They own at least like 7 to 10% of the equity in every company in the S&P 500, which gives them board seats in a lot of occasions. So they get to decide what happens with the company with those board seats. Quote, this woke capitalism thing 2 years ago about nobody heard of the term, said Lubber. Quote, I still can't really tell you what it means, but it's been very effective. One would be foolish not to say that. Red states passed dozens of anti-ESG laws. More than a dozen state attorney generals have targeted BlackRock over its ESG practices, and the Republican-led House of Representatives has subjected large asset managers to hearing and subpoenas. BlackRock's recent withdrawal from the Climate Coalition came one day before a deadline for it to respond to the latest House probe. It demanded information from more than 60 U.S.-based asset managers regarding their involvement in the Net Zero Asset Managers Agreement, which House Judiciary Committee called a woke ESG cartel, which it definitely was. BlackRock and many legal observers say the claims on which the state laws and lawsuits are centered are baseless. The company settled an ESG suit with the state of Tennessee in January without admitting wrongdoing or paying any money. Regardless of the claims' merit, in the anti-ESG movement has won major concessions as BlackRock works to distance itself from the controversy. Its membership in climate groups was often cited as evidence in the lawsuits. The company's PR efforts and public statements have changed markedly as well. Executives now rarely mention ESG issues, a favorite talking point just a few years ago. Recent communications that focus on BlackRock's role as the largest steward of America's retirement assets. Oh, let's open that up too next. Because like I said, yeah, retirement fund and how it can play a role in helping people save and spend their nest eggs. So shut up. BlackRock's ESG fund launches have ground to a halt as it hasn't launched an ESG exchange trade fund in the U.S. since the first quarter of 2024 after launching 30 over the previous 5 years, according to Morningstar. The company took further steps to distance itself from the movement last week, removing all mentions of DEI. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Which was previously declared a corporate priority from its latest annual report. On Friday, BlackRock told employees it was ending aspirational workforce representation goals and would no longer require managers to interview a diverse slate of candidates for open positions. Now, according to an internal memo viewed by the Wall Street Journal, quote, significant changes to the U.S. legal and policy environment related to DEI prompted the changes, the memo said. This is huge. This is going to trickle down all throughout Wall Street. They are like the tone setters for Wall Street. And honestly, businesses, like I said, biggest shareholder in pretty much every company in the S&P 500. Meanwhile, BlackRock disclosed that it had renegotiated and removed sustainability-linked pricing metrics from a $4.4 billion credit facility it struck in 2021. It ended provisions that linked lending costs to whether it met targets for women in senior leadership and Black and Latino employees in the workforce. The credit facility had been mentioned by political enemies accusing the asset manager of being woke. When it comes to proxy voting on behalf of its fund investors, here we go. BlackRock supported 4% of environmental and social shareholder resolutions in 2024, down from 40% in 2021. Holy shit, that is huge. Let me say that again. When it comes to proxy voting on behalf of its fund investors, BlackRock supported only 4% of environmental and social shareholder resolutions in 2024, down from 40% in 2021. 4% to 40%. That is progress. Or excuse me, 40% to 4%. So BlackRock's business just posted a banner here, blah, blah, blah. All right. So that is that with that story. So that is dead. That beast is dead for right now, but we cannot let it grow back and resurface because this was a hideous, hideous thing when it was happening. I mean, let me show you real quick. I have an article from what was happening at the time because we did a whole breakdown to this when it was happening. So this is from 2022. Ugh. This was a scary time. So let's see. This is November 2022. Since the launch of the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative in December 2020 with an initial group of 30 signatories and building on the considerable momentum of the initiative so far, more than 291 signatories representing over 66 trillion US dollars have joined and committed to align their portfolios with achieving net zero by 2050 or sooner. So this is where things were. This is where things were at the time. Disclosures take total number of 66 trillion. I mean, like there's only 400 trillion in the world, I believe, not including derivatives. How much money is there in the world? So, according to a few things, according to most estimates, the total amount of money in the world is around 80 trillion when considering both physical and digital money. So, $66 trillion worth of assets under management. We're behind this, and there's $80 trillion of money in the world. Like that doesn't even make sense, but I guess it does when you look at how much money is held by boomers. Like I know we're going in an unexpected direction, but money held by generation. Boomers have the vast majority of money. So look at this. I mean, so here's boomers. Boomers have like half the total money, but then this is 156 trillion in US assets. So that contradicts that 80 trillion. Regardless, 66 trillion of whatever amount of trillions is a shit ton. And that was a crazy amount of influence to have over US companies and companies in the Western world. So that is falling apart. That's a huge, 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 massive thing. And it reminds me of when PBD asked Trump on the podcast, who's the most powerful person in the world? Like, is it Larry Fink? Is it the defense contractors? Is it people we don't know about? And he surprised us all. And he said that, no, it's the U.S. president. The U.S. president, if they actually embrace their power, embrace the power they have, they are the most powerful person in the world. And just like, look at the factor of how much of a tone setter that the U.S. president is. Like, Biden goes in there with like the woke mob controlling him because he's not doing his own thinking. And then like the business world runs wild with this net zero climate change stuff that they're all talking about. And it like gets so crazy distorted. And then just one president later, it's all crumbling down. So thank God for that. Let's have some fun quick and look at BlackRock's DEI thing collapsing, and then we'll go to another thing. So guys, by the way, if you are just getting here, I said today I launched the Forbidden Book Society on Monect. So if you have Monect, go on there. We just added something super cool called Circles. It's like a way better version of Patreon or Locals, where we have our own community. So I'm turning this into the greatest book club in the world, where I'm basically going to give you the like craziest, most compelling information from the books that I read. Because I read like 2 books a week already, just as it is for fun and curiosity. But like, for example, this weekend I read The United States of Blackmail by Whitney Webb. Like read them already, but it's a 2-volume series. It's like 30 hours of listening or maybe 500 pages of reading. And I want to like meticulously explain why the Epstein files aren't being released. And these books do that. So I don't expect you guys to spend 30 hours listening to a book or to read 500 pages of these 2 books, but I do that just out of my own curiosity and what my line of work is anyway. So I want a dope community of cool people who are interested in these things, who are going to like collaborate on things and ask the right questions. And we'll just have like an intelligence network with this. So if you're interested in that, the link to Monect is pinned in the comment section or in the description. And if you go to the Circles tab and click that, then scroll down to my thing, then you will find it. So check that out if you're interested. And here we go, back to business. So BlackRock's DEI getting dropped. Let's see what they got. BlackRock drops DEI references in annual report. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, cut references to its diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy in its annual reports. Joining the list of Wall Street firms, here's a look at some of BlackRock's old and new language on the topic. Oh, this is fun. So BlackRock CEO in 2021 letter says, we have a long-term strategy aimed at improving diversity, equity, and inclusion at BlackRock. To truly drive change, we must embed DEI into everything we do. That's what he said in 2021. Embed DEI into everything we do. But the latest report says delivering for the firm's client requires attracting the best people from across the world. BlackRock is committed to creating an environment that supports top talent and fosters diverse perspectives to avoid groupthink. Now, is that the same person talking right there? That is the same person talking right there. I officially opened up the Forbidden Book Society on Monect, on the Circles tab in Monect. So when I read, I say it's like kind of like gold mining, where a lot of the stuff is nonsense. You don't really need to hear it, but then there's just like these nuggets of like craziness within a lot of books, but then specifically books that I usually read. So I've read like 1,000 books over the last 2 years, and just want a place where I could exclusively share this stuff with people who want to know about this stuff, and people who are curious, who want to know how the world works. So I just want to like build a club of sharp, curious people, and that's what we're doing there. So if you are interested in something like that, check out the Forbidden Book Society on Monect Circles.